What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. Empower your purpose with Rehmann. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday. Make sure you turn on your live notifications so you don't miss a single second of the Word on Woodward. And you guys, get your thoughts on the show. Use the hashtag Word on Woodward on whatever social platform that you're on. You can tweet it, you can post it, you can snap it, you can put it on Instagram, whatever you want to do. Again, that's the hashtag Word on Woodward, and we will do our best to get to your comments in the show. We've got some great interviews for you guys today. MLB.com's Jason Beck will be joining us shortly for our mailbag segment. And of course, we've got other interviews with former Tiger Doug Fister, Red Wings senior content producer Dana Wakiji. We're going to talk some NHL playoffs and some Red Wings news. And the Tigers director of pitching development and strategy, Dan Hubbs, is going to join us talking about Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal making their debuts this week. Like I said, a lot of exciting stuff. And to top it all off, we'll have MLB Network's Carlos Pena joining Art for the headliner. Speaking of Art, we already got a comment on our Facebook, Art, about your hair. We had to know if it's done, if you had time to do it today. It wouldn't be the Word on Woodward if we didn't kick the show off talking about your hair. So how's it going today?
Well, I'll tell you what, last night I did something a little different. I did something a little different. I actually showered and washed my hair last night.
That is
because
different.
if I do it just before the show, and so I did have to use a dry shampoo because it was unruly. But I guess my biggest fear about my hair right now is that people are texting me and saying that I look like Steve Bannon, who was a former advisor to President Trump, who I do not want to look like. And so I'm actually thinking about maybe getting it cut. But right now, this is about the best it's going to look. So I have not had as much time to prepare my hair today as I thought. So I brushed it back, put on the dry shampoo, and then you shake it all up. You shake it all up because that's what gets to the roots. And you can tell I have a lot of hair, really. I mean, there's a lot of it. And then and now it comes back. Then it comes back. So it's dry, it's clean, and it's unruly. But that's it. When you have like 4 or 5 colics in your hair strategically placed all over and 2 right in the front, it's a lost cause. It's a lost cause, Daniella, a lost cause. But thank you for carrying out there. I appreciate it.
It looks great, Art, but of course, we're going to move on to talking some Tigers baseball and get into our big 3 presented by Chevy. It was a big night for the Tigers last night with the debut of Casey Mize. Unfortunately, they did drop another game, but we are going to take a look at those highlights because, like I said, Casey Mize made his debut. So, guys, check this out. Debut of top pitching prospect Casey Mize. There he is, rocking number 12. We're going to pick it up in the bottom of the first. Mize did not disappoint. Here he is, his first strikeout of his major league career. Get used to this one, Tigers fans. He gets Moncada there, and here's Jimenez. He's swinging two strikeouts in the first inning of Casey Mize's debut. Jump to the bottom of the second, Encarnacion at the plate, and he's going to send this one deep to left, and this one's close. Is it foul? Is it fair? It just stays fair, and it's gone for a solo shot and the 1-0 lead. A nice at-bat from Encarnacion. Look at this one. He takes this pitch. It's a breaking ball. You could tell that he liked something about that pitch, so later in the at-bat, he gets the same pitch, and he gets all of this one and sends it deep for Chicago's 12th home run since Sunday. Here's Mize later in the inning. Zach Collins at the plate, 1 on, 1 out. And there's the splitter again. Collins goes down swinging. Now in the top of the 5th, 2 on, 1 out, Jeimer Candelario. And he's going to hit this one deep to right. And it's going back, and gone for a 3-run shot. He had a pretty good night for the Tigers. He went 2 for 4, including this 3-run shot that put the Tigers up 3-1. He was pumped. Bottom of the 5th, and here is the Tiger killer, Tim Anderson at the plate, 1 on, 1 out. And he sneaks this one just by Goodrum for an RBI base hit. The White Sox are going to pull within 1. Later in the inning, here's Moncada again, shooting this one into right field for a base hit. Little hiccup from Bonifacio that turns this one into a double for Moncada, and the run will score. It is 3-3. We're in the bottom of the 8th. Gregory Soto on the mound, and Jose Abreu sends this one deep to right. It's gone for another solo shot, and his second hit of the night. The Sox now take the late lead, 4-3. Same inning, 2 outs, no one on, and it's Encarnacion who went deep early in this game, and he's going to do it again. Deep to left off of Soto, and it's 5-3 Sox. This would do it for this game. The Tigers dropped their 8th straight, but Art, a solid debut for Casey Mize, who went 4 1/3 innings, posting 7 strikeouts and no walks.
Well, without question. I mean, and this isn't, if we're sitting here and we're praising Casey Mize for what I thought was a great start, he just looks different out there. I love when we talk to him on the Word on Woodward. He just has an air and a confidence about him. I mean, I think I could tell from the moment I started talking to him, this kid thinks he's ready to pitch in the major leagues, and I think he proved it last night. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Tariq Skubal too, because I thought Tarek played very, very well and pitched. Chicago is one of the hottest teams in baseball right now. They're hitting the ball. What have they hit? Like 14 home runs since Sunday. I mean, these guys are dialed in. But without. I want to praise both of the young pitchers who made their major league debuts. I thought both of them showed a lot of promise. But when I look at Casey Mize, when I look at what Arthur was able to do last night, I really was thoroughly impressed because his demeanor, and Skubal was too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, again, I hate doing this because it sounds like I'm like rating one over the other or one was that much better. I thought they were both good. Okay. I thought they were both good, but you can tell that Casey Mize is a special pitcher. He has, he's always around the plate. He didn't walk anybody. That splitter is filthy as it's been described. Even Tim Anderson, couldn't, struck out on it. The hottest hitter in the league, especially against the Tigers. So I think when you look at it as a whole, I think that Casey Mize is only going to get better, and his pitching line was not that bad. And, and there was a shot last night during the game that had Mize, Skubal, and Matthew Boyd together in the dugout. They were all masked up. Nice to see that, fellas. And they were just sitting there talking about pitching. And, we've had Boyd on, obviously. We've had all three of them on the show. And you can tell that these guys are dialed into their craft. They want to be good. Boyd is a leader. He's struggling right now, but he's more than willing to talk to two very young arms who someday are going to be in that rotation with Matthew Boyd. So I just thought overall, collectively, even though the Tigers are going through a real tough stretch right now, and, they'll eventually work themselves out of this. But I think the last couple of days, if you're a Tiger fan, you've got to feel pretty good with what's coming up. And, how many times have we said this, Daniella, about a rebuild? Is that the exciting part is watching it. 5 years from now, Daniella, when you're sitting around with, I was going to say your grandchildren, but I don't want, I don't want to, I'm just joking, obviously. No, I know. I just wanted to get some sort of reaction out of you. But, 5 or 6 years from now, when you're sitting around with your buddies or friends and, you're watching, Arthur Mize win his 20th game of the year or something, or Skubal striking out, 15 batters in 4 innings, which is impossible to do. But if anybody can do it, Tarek can do it. You're gonna come back and you're gonna say, "Hey, I remember that night in Chicago when he made his debut." And that's things that fans, you kind of relish those moments, And we saw, in a strange sense, this week, we saw the beginning, the next step in Tiger history, the next step in the legacy of this proud franchise, charter member of the American League, Detroit's oldest professional sports team since 1901, and I'll tell you another thing about the Tigers. I don't know if fans know. They're the only team in professional sports that's had one nickname their whole history. From 1901 on, they were the Tigers. Even the Red Wings were like, like the Cougars and the Falcons, and then finally the Red Wings. The Tigers have been the Tigers since 1901. No other team, even like I think the Yankees were like the Highlanders or something, and the Boston Braves. I mean, all teams have had different nicknames except Detroit. Well, Detroit Tigers fans, you saw history this weekend, and I think I'm pretty excited. Skubal, and then Arthur's my main man. I want the Tigers. I actually want the Tigers to send me a big, huge, just a picture of Casey's face that I can put over here on this door during the show. I think it would be cool. And then, of course, if you were to go over here, I actually have a great picture of Sergei Fedorov that I should put up. But anyway, all I'm saying is, hey, look, it's tough. No one likes to see your team lose, but I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty excited. I saw the future of the Tigers this week on Tuesday and on Wednesday in Chicago against a very good White Sox team that is dialed in right now at at the plate, and I like what I saw. I like what I saw.
I think we all did, Art. It was a very exciting week for the Tigers despite the losses. We're going to move on to our second topic of the Big Three, which of course is our clubhouse notes, and we're going to bring in Carley Johnston for this one. Carley, what do you have for us today?
Thanks, Danielle. I don't know how I'm going to follow that after Art. I'm going to need a big head of Casey Mize too, apparently. Maybe that's something we can use for the show. But again,
do they still make fat? I'm sorry, Carley. Do they still make fatheads? Fatheads? You get a big fat head of Casey Mize. I think they're a Livonia company too.
Broccoli.
The broccoli and Mize fatheads. That'd be good. Danielle, you could use a fat head or two behind you. We have these white backgrounds.
Yeah. I should just cover my wall in Tiger heads. Maybe some Red Wings ones.
In your case, let's get a fat head of Rocco though for you. I think we can make one. A fat head of Rocco for you.
Let's get one of all of
Carley,
our
Carley, your fat head will be various. Your fat head. Your fat head will be various vegetables behind you. Broccoli, carrots.
All right, I already have my behind me.
I know you're big in Brussels sprouts. Yeah.
See that transition, Danielle? I thought you'd appreciate that. All right, big major league debut for Casey Mize last night. As we've been talking about, it's basically the Casey Mize show for our 2 bullet points of the Big Three. As we just saw from the run-through of the game, 7 strikeouts and no walks in a little over 4 innings, which is very impressive. Unfortunate that it wasn't a win for Mize's debut, but the Tigers have not been much of a hot streak lately, so it's not exactly we're going to look at Casey Mize and say, is that part of the problem? They've been losing 8 in a row. Manager Ron Gardenhire addressed their poor play as of late and Mize's debut last night after the game. So let's check it out.
Well, I mean, he's, like I said, he's a pretty polished pitcher, and he handles himself really well. He's got a really tough mindset that, you're not going to get me. I'll figure this thing out. And he's got an assortment of pitches that he can go to and command all of them. So that tells you he's got the weapons to pitch at this level, no doubt about it. And you know what? We saw a pretty good pitcher out there tonight, which we're really excited about.
Gardy said their starting pitching has been an issue for this team as of late, so it was good to see a good starting pitcher get in there. Mize addressed the media after his big evening, saying he was able to keep his cool throughout the game and will reflect on this moment after it's all said and done. Didn't want to get in his head too much, but what he said that stuck out to me the most was that he felt comfortable out there on the mound and felt like he belonged in the big leagues. Big words out of a young guy. Let's check it out.
I still firmly believe that I'm ready for this level. Like I said, I did a lot of things well tonight, and I was very comfortable out there and very, very collected, and I really feel like I belong. And the feedback that I got from coaches and teammates, I think would reflect that as well. So there just wasn't really a moment where I felt like I'm overmatched or I'm kind of in the wrong place. So I did feel comfortable, and I do feel like I belong.
I do feel like I belong. That really stuck out to me. I loved to hear that out of his mouth. And one of those teammates that Mize was talking about that he heard feedback from, who spoke highly of him, was Grayson Greiner, the man who was catching the majority of Mize's pitches last night. So let's hear what he had to say about Mize's gameplay.
I think we all knew what we were getting based off what we saw in spring and summer camp. We knew we were getting a composed, competitive pitcher, and I think he probably had a good idea after he got drafted first overall. It wouldn't be too long before he got up here, and he relished the moment. He did a good job.
He did a good job indeed. A glimpse into the future of the Tigers bullpen, if you will, I would say. It's awesome seeing Mize have a stellar big league debut. Unfortunate, again, that they didn't get the win, but a winning streak is coming. I can feel it. Art and Danielle, I have to say, not only is he good out on the mound, but he's a very well-spoken young man. I enjoy hearing from him, especially firsthand about how his debut went last night.
Carly, you're so right. He is very well spoken, and I love the confidence that he radiates. The fact that he does believe he belongs out there, that goes a long way, especially when you got to have that mindset when you're making your debut, when you're a young guy like that, because you're going to face some adversity. So definitely good to see the confidence. Thank you so much, Carly. We'll see you later in the show. You guys, make sure you're sending her your questions. Use the hashtag #WordOnWoodward on social media, and we'll talk about them later in the show.
Thanks,
Bye,
guys.
Carly.
Sounds good. See you soon. Bye, Art.
Moving on to our third topic of the Big Three, more Tigers for you. We're going to take a look at the starting lineup for today's afternoon game. And we just got these in. Jeimer Candelario will be batting leadoff for the Tigers. And then we'll go down the list here. And you can see Willie Castro will be in that 9th spot. Another note I did want to make, Spencer Turnbull will be the starting pitcher today. But Buck Farmer has been reinstated from the 10-day IL. So that is really good news for the Tigers.
Yeah, that's really good news. If you look at it, obviously they're facing Lucas GIOLITO, and he's been inconsistent this year. He was an all-star last year, so and lefties are doing pretty well against him this season and have done well against him. So there's 3 switch hitters and and Christian Stewart, who's a lefty. So I'm not surprised by that. I think the real key stat here is that the leadoff has been a troubling spot for the Tigers this season. Jeimer Candelario did well last night, and so if he can solidify not only first base but the #1 spot in the lineup, that's pretty good. So formidable lineup. These guys got to start hitting it. Maybe take a few more pitches. The one thing about the Tigers, and I would, I know last show I said I would take a pitch. I would probably be a bit of a, because I'm impatient, be a bit of a free swinger myself, but I think the guys have to just calm down a little bit. But Candelario at first, Jacoby Jones, obviously good speed, like him at second. Miggy's got to get it together. Scope, I think, is given everything he has. Goodrum needs to pick it up a little bit. Christian Stewart needs to start hitting, definitely hitting for power. Cameron Maben has to get on base more, obviously. Austin Robine, I think, leads the team in hitting. So he's obviously, everything that we thought he was going to be, and in even more, because he's so fantastic behind the plate with his pitching staff. And then Willie Castro, giving the young rookie Isaac Paredes the day off, maybe to let him kind of watch the game, and hopefully that'll start to slow down a little bit more for him as he goes on in his Tiger career. And up next for Isaac, it's not going to be that easy. It's going to be the Indians, but still probably the best pitching staff, or at least in the American League. But I look forward to this. I look forward to this game today. Spencer Turnbull on the mound. I mean, they need a stopper. They need somebody. If there's somebody that can stop a losing streak on his own with the stuff that Spencer Turnbull has and the mental makeup that he has, I think that he could. He's more than capable of going deep into this ball game, racking up some strikeouts, and also not giving up any runs. So perhaps when you're on an 8-game losing streak where the Tigers are at right now, it probably doesn't get much better on the hill for them than having Spencer Turnbull take the ball and hopefully pitch the Tigers to a victory today.
We'll talk more about Spencer Turnbull and the rest of that Tigers lineup for today's game throughout the entire show. Jason Beck is going to join us shortly to talk about Mize's debut and the upcoming game today. But right now, you guys, we've got a little bonus topic in our big three today. You guys have seen some of the Tigers' dreams come true videos that they do, and we have the latest version for you right now.
What's up, Tigers fans? Carley Johnston here, joined by a very special guest today. We have youth baseball player Mason Morgan. How's it going, Mason?
Good.
Okay, and I understand you play baseball. What's the name of your baseball team?
Last year we were the Mid-Michigan Reapers. Now this year we're going to be the Mid-Michigan Cubs.
Can you explain to us what happened?
I threw the pitch. The guy smoked the ball right back to me, and I didn't have time to react, and it just hit me back in the eye.
But I understand you're back on the mound, right?
Yep.
Very cool. Okay, so I know, we're always looking for ways to get better, right? So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bring in Detroit Tigers pitcher Michael Fulmer. Can you say hi to Fulmer?
Hi.
Fulmer, do you have any pitching tips for Mason here?
Man, Mason, I heard your story, bud. 9-year-old pitcher, line drive back at you. It's extremely tough to get out of the way, isn't it? I've been hit by a few of them myself, but just want to say I'm super proud of you for sticking to it and getting back out there and pitching.
Thank you.
What kind of pitches do you throw? Do you have anything different?
I usually just throw a fastball.
Fastball, that's good. 9 years old, you don't need to be throwing anything else because you just want to throw the ball for strikes and as many strikes as you can. So do you throw a 4-seam fastball?
I throw 2.
2-seam. How do you throw your 2-seam? Can you show me a baseball around? I
Like,
like it. Do you know why they call it a 2-seam?
because both your fingers are on the 2 seams.
Perfect. That's it, man. Because when you throw it, you only see 1 seam and 2 seams here. You don't see anything else, right?
Yeah.
For me, I've got a lot bigger hands, so I can spread my fingers out, okay? Or I can put them closer together on that 2-seam, right?
Yeah.
Makes your ball go. You're a right-hander or left-hander?
Left hand.
Left-hander. Oh, even better. Okay, so I'm going to try to explain left-handed then, right? So left-hander is going to go away to a right-handed hitter, right? So you got to throw that pitch right down the middle, and you want it to sink away from a left or from a righty. But for right now, I mean, I wouldn't even try to mess with anything else. If you're having success just throwing fastballs, that's all you need at 9 years old right now.
All right, you guys, the fun doesn't even stop there. Michael, what else do we have for Mason today?
So Mason, like I said, super proud of you for being able to get back on the field to show the Detroit Tigers how proud we are of you. How about whenever we are allowed to have fans again, hopefully next year, we get you and your family to get to come to a Tigers game next year. How does that sound?
That would be great.
And also, I think the Tigers dropped off a care package. I think your mom might have it. Get you some Detroit Tigers gear and some swag.
Whoa. Oh, this looks cool.
What do you got in there? A new hat?
Oh, it's like pajama shorts. Right, and I got like a little hat.
Love it. Look at you are so ready to come to the game. Hopefully we can have you guys next season. But I just want to thank you, Mason, for being such an inspiration to all the youth baseball players out there. And Michael, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you. Mason, I'm proud of you, buddy. Take care, all right?
Go Tigers!
So happy to see Mason back on the mound there. And now he's got some tips from Michael Fulmer. He's going to be killing it in the little leagues.
Oh, without question. How many times do I say this? The Tigers, they get it. They're doing it right. That was just wonderful to watch. Michael Fulmer, tip your cap to him. He was great with young Mason, and Michael Fulmer said something interesting that I have heard even when I was playing Little League. Pitchers always try to throw like, I'm going to start working on a curve, or I'm going to start working on a changeup or a slider. You're going to screw your arm up. I mean, that's essentially what he was saying. If you're 9 years old and you throw fastballs, and you could tell Michael Fulmer was pretty happy. That's all he threw was fastballs. That's all you should be doing. You get up, you start graduating up, 14, 15 years old, then maybe start varying your pitches up, because you're doing a lot of things as your arm is still developing, because you're a very young person at 9 years old. stick to fastballs. Great advice, Mason. And, I mean, I have not, you've won just as many games as I have in the major leagues, Mason, which is 0. But I'm telling you, stick with the fastball. Michael Fulmer is absolutely correct.
And maybe we'll see Mason on the mound one day in the big leagues. Great job by the Tigers and Carly. That was awesome. And a big thank you to Chevy for presenting the big 3. Chevy cares. This is why Chevy dealers are committed to using enhanced vehicle cleaning measures with CDC approved cleansers before delivering your vehicle after purchase or service. So when you're ready, you can find new roads with confidence. Now, you guys, we're going to get into our mailbag delivered to you by Little Caesars. And today's guest is Tigers writer for MLB.com, Jason Beck. Jason, it's great to see you again. We've got some exciting things to talk about today. I'm actually just going to get right into your first question because it's really relevant. And Bill from Grosse Pointe wants to ask you, Jason, what are your thoughts on Casey Mize's debut?
Well, that was impressive. He looked like somebody who belongs in the big leagues and knows it. Now, for him to go through that lineup, a lineup that's been chewing up Tigers pitchers for a lot of the past week and a half, it says a lot about where he is. And you have to remember with him, he hasn't had a ton of minor league prep work going into this. He basically had 3/4 of a season of ball last year between Lakeland and Erie. He got shut down with a couple weeks to go in Erie. In fact, last night was his first regular season outing in a year and 2 days because it came just over a year after his last outing in Erie. So, and you kind of saw that he was a little pumped up to be competing again, and I think that fed him a little bit, but it fed him in a good way. It didn't look like he was too nervous. It didn't look like his heart was racing. He looked like he was able to channel that adrenaline in a pretty good fashion. So it's, all in all, he looked like somebody who belongs. And it's probably the most impressive debut I think we've seen from a Tigers starting pitcher since, probably at least Michael Fulmer, if not earlier.
Jason, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's the most impressive debut that I can remember watching to this day. And we're going to get to our question 2, Art. This one is for you. It's Alex from Monroe, and he asked, do you think the Tigers will break their streak in this series with the mistake by the lake? That's not nice to talk about Cleveland that way, but Art, what do you think?
Well, I've got a lot of friends in Cleveland, and even they sometimes refer to it as the mistake by the lake. Look, I mean, don't you think it has to end? It has to stop. I mean, we're getting in uncharted territory. We're going like major league record, eventually if this continues. I think yes. I think somehow, I know that we talked to Tom Hamilton, the excellent play-by-play announcer for the Indians, and I think that's going to be a special bonus interview that we're going to have on our streaming services here. But he kind of revealed something to Daniella and I. Cleveland, because of their Plazak and Clevenger and all that COVID-19 thing that they were going through, they don't even know who's going to start Saturday's game. So it's going to be somebody that's going to come out of the Cleveland minor league system. And granted, they produced some pretty good prospects lately, but maybe Saturday, if not tomorrow, Friday, it would be the day is that the Tigers are absolutely going to break it. And then if they can break it on Saturday, then Skubal pitching on Sunday, that would be fantastic. He gets a win, and then you've got Arthur Casey Mize back with on Monday starting against the Cubs. Before you know it, the Tigers are on a 3-game winning streak. Take that, Cleveland. Take that.
Yeah, they need to beat Cleveland as well. What is it, 20 straight now that Cleveland's had the Tigers number? So it's time. It's time to break our losing streak and the streak against the Indians. This is the weekend. This is the weekend. I can feel it.
Jason, I can't believe it. I really can't believe it.
I know that's a tough one to swallow. But Jason, question 3 for you is Linda from South Lyon. We talked a little bit about this in the big 3, but our bullpen has been good this season, and Buck Farmer has been removed from the 10-day IL. What kind of boost do you think this will give the Tigers?
I think it could be pretty big. To have that experience in the 8th inning is big, but also the effect it has on the rest of the bullpen, because it allows you to move some other guys around and use them in other situations. I think it's not a coincidence that Gregory Soto was so effective when Farmer was there in the 8th inning, because it allowed Gardy to pick and choose his spots for him. You know, he was able to use him in areas where you might have a couple tough left-handed hitters or a few switch hitters in a row. He was able to kind of spot him and identify parts of the order where he could deploy Soto and look for big strikeouts. And I think now, as we see, you know, Brian Garcia start to settle in, it allows you to use Garcia in different spots too. And all of a sudden now your bullpen's deeper. It allows you to use some of these guys in earlier situations to keep games closer, to maintain leads.
Question 4, you guys, is also Tigers related. And Art, I'm going to have you answer this one first. And this is Larry from Grand Rapids. And he asked, which is the more interesting stat? Austin Romine leading the team in the batting average or Jacoby Jones in slugging? Art, what do you think?
I would think this. I think both of them are good, you know, because both of them are playing well and they're contributing. But I have to go with Austin Romine leading the team in hitting. I mean, that is just such an extra bonus, simply because we've talked about Austin Romine. I said he was going to be the MVP of the Tigers this year, way back when, you know, like, I don't know, 6 weeks ago on the Word on Woodward. But I said he was going to be because he's going to settle down that pitching staff because of what he brings behind the plate, a veteran presence. Well, now you add, and he's been excellent behind the plate. I'm sure Jason would agree with that. I mean, he's just like a wonderful addition. I think the Tigers, I would be negotiating a deal with him right now. You know, he's under a 1-year contract. I would try to, you know, ink him up for the next 2 or 3 years. You know, then you're solidifying your catching position, especially with these young arms that are going to be coming up. But now you throw in he's leading the team in hitting. Can't get any better than that. I think that for me, it's Austin Romine, batting average, leading the team. Keep it going, Austin, baby.
Jason, what do you think? Is it Austin Romine or Jacoby Jones?
Yeah, I can't really argue with this one. I think it's Austin Romine. You know, I remember hearing his older brother Andrew say that he was a better hitter when he was when Andrew was with the Tigers, and I didn't know he was this good. I don't know if any of us did. It's not just the batting average to me; it's the professional at bats every time. You see a guy who knows how to work pitchers, who knows how to read pitchers, knows how to play tendencies, and gives you a professional bat, you know, day in and day out. I think you have to give at least a little bit of credit to a former Tiger, Marcus Thames, who, you know, the hitting coach with the Yankees, who's been able to do a lot of good work over there with some good hitters. And, you know, a lot of people say, oh, yeah, you know, when you have as much talent as the Yankees do, it's easy to coach those hitters. No, but, you know, when it's not just about the talent, it's about a philosophy and an approach. And for a guy like Romine, you know, who was not a full-time player over there, to come over here and hit this well and carry that approach over, I think is a testament to what they're doing over there. And you hope that can carry over, and that some of the younger guys, especially some younger catchers, can see what he's doing and maybe you know, learn some things there. You know, we've talked a lot about that with Cam Maben and the approach that he brought over. I think Romine has something worth watching there.
Austin Romine has definitely been exciting to watch this year. Great addition for the Tigers throughout this season. Jason, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us for the mailbag today. Always great to catch up with you. And of course, a thank you to Little Caesars for delivering the mailbag right here on the Word on Woodward. Little Caesars proudly introduces their hot and ready pepperoni cheeser. You get a large pizza topped with classic pepperoni, fresh mozzarella, and a toasted Parmesan and Asiago cheese crust for just $7. Try our no-contact pizza portal or delivery from Little Caesars. You guys, we've still got a lot of great stuff coming up for you on today's show. Right now, you're taking a look at Chicago, the White Sox and the Tigers are set to take the field. First pitch is at 2:10 today. Of course, we've got Fox Sports Detroit coverage starting at 1 right after the word on Woodward. We're going to be joined by Dana Wakiji soon, senior content producer for the Red Wings. Tigers director of pitching development and strategy, Dan Hubbs. He's going to talk about Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal. And to top things off, former Tiger and MLB Network analyst Carlos Pena will join Art for the headliner today. But right now, we're going to go over to Carley Johnston, who was with a former Tiger earlier this week.
That's right. It's time for Catching Up with Carley, presented by Meyer. And today I am joined by former Detroit Tigers pitcher Doug Fister. How's it going, Doug?
Doing very well. Thank you.
Awesome. Love to hear it. Okay, so it's been about 1.5 years since your retirement. What's been keeping you busy these days?
My 2 girls. I've got 2 little girls now and a busy wife who they keep us busy. So we're definitely running around. And I've been opening up my own woodworking business now, a little custom woodworking on the side. So trying to keep myself busy with all the honeydews and that kind of thing.
Very cool. Love it. Girl dad. You got to love it.
Yes. Very much a girl
Right,
dad.
so absolutely. Have you been watching any of the baseball this season, this condensed season?
Yeah, it's definitely been quite a roller coaster for everybody, I'm sure. I know it's a stressful time and, trying to keep up on things as much as possible. And, it's really hard for them to stay ready and go through the roller coaster of playing, not playing, and having to play under all the different new regulations and rules to abide for, the unfortunate pandemic we're in.
Right. And okay, so specifically talking about Tigers, I know you're on the West Coast. Probably don't get much Detroit games out there, but I don't know if you've been keeping up with the team. What are some takeaways that you have outside of the last few games? They've been looking pretty solid, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, that's kind of what I've seen, what I've definitely heard of. So I know that they're definitely young and they have a lot of talent. It definitely looks good for the future. It's one of those things that you have to go through a little bit of a rough stretch of, kind of learning the ropes, especially for new guys. And I think that's kind of one of the places where they're at. I know they've still got some of the old guys that I played with. I know Miggy's still there, and guys doing well. So I think that's a good thing. You learn from some of the best guys and just continue to grow.
What's it like seeing someone like Miguel Cabrera still with that same team that he's been with for years?
I think that's definitely an attribute to. Or a tribute to Miggy, being so loyal. He's such a great teammate, such a great leader. He's one of the best, if not the best, hitter that I was ever around. And just the things that he was able to do and accomplish, but then also to swing that around and teach the young kids that he's touched so many guys' lives by the way he carries himself on and off the field. He's a great guy to be around and really teaches you the game of ball.
Do you have a favorite Miggy story that you can share with us?
I know for the fact the first time I walked into the clubhouse after I was traded, from across the room, he just screams my name and just gives me a big old bear hug and certainly welcomed me with open arms, to say the least, when I was there. And that's one of my favoriteest memories for him, because he sure made it a little more homey walking in for the first time.
Mm-hmm. He's got a big personality, that's for sure. All right, let's talk a bit about pitching. Tigers pitcher Tyler Alexander, he recently recorded 9 consecutive strikeouts in a game. And so he tied your record and set a new record as a relief pitcher. What's it like seeing a young guy like that have so much success?
It's exciting, because you know exactly what he's feeling at that time, how exciting it is to have that success. But also, to know he continues to learn off of that and to continues to grow. Being a young guy, really, you have that drive and you have that work ethic to continue to get better, and it's a great thing for the team. The team gets the recognition, but especially him as an individual, knowing that he's able to go out there and perform and do what he needs to do, and the team can rely on him. That's a reassuring thing.
Absolutely. And speaking about young players, is it promising to see all this young talent that the Tigers have and the depth that they have this year, especially on the mound? And more recently with Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal getting the call up.
I think it's an exciting time to get those call ups, especially as a young kid, because you do have to walk the line and figure out what's your role in this game, and how to learn from it, because experience just comes from doing it and learning it. So, now's a great time to get them up there, get them, the lessons learned, and kind of break them in. So I think it's exciting. I know that they, as an old guy, you enjoy seeing a young guy come in because he's got the love of the game and he's got that drive, and it's just reassuring to guys all around to say, hey, we continue to love the game and play because you love it.
And I'm sure you know exactly how they're feeling right now, but do you have any words of wisdom for them going into this major league debut?
Oh man, just soak it all in. Everybody, I know for me, when we were going through the World Series and the playoffs, the stretch that we went in, everybody just kind of said, hey, you got to block out all the stressors and just go out there and play your game. For me, I had to turn it around and fully say, you know what, I'm going to soak it all in as much as I can. The game I started in the World Series, I stepped off, I looked all the way around, took me a couple of seconds to kind of gather myself, and then I went back to work. Instead of trying to spend all the energy blocking it out and trying to just focus, I went ahead and said, hey, you know what, soak it in, enjoy the moment, and then, okay, time to get back to work. So, give yourself a minute to take a breath.
It's good advice. All right. So during your time in Detroit, you played in the postseason a few times and you had the American League Championship. What was your experience in Detroit like?
Oh, it's some of the most memorable years of my career, to say the least. The group of guys that we had in that clubhouse is the most memorable and the most touching for me in the few years I was able to play. The guys, we were brothers. That team definitely had something special, and we were able to accomplish a lot of things. But it was just a fun time to play for the love of the game type thing. It was just a great experience from top down.
How did it feel arriving in the D and playing for a team that had so much history and, like you said, just such a family aspect in that team?
First and foremost, they definitely were a family-oriented team. Dave and Jimmy were definitely guys who cared about you as a teammate and as a guy and as a man, but also cared about your family. So that made it very reassuring to play. But then showing up in the D, it was just the experience is there, the history that's there. It's very awe-inspiring to say, man, the guys that have played in the stadium, the guys that have been in, this city who have represented that team, it's almost unfathomable because that is the history of baseball. It is so rich, and it is quite an honor to put on that Old English D all the time.
Awesome. And can you imagine playing in a ballpark without any fans like the guys are this season?
Oh man, that's definitely a tough one. It really. I know that they're playing the sounds and everything else, but it is a little different without the atmosphere of the fans. Because a lot of times you do get those hecklers, or when you're at home and you do have the support of your fans when things go great. Those things can definitely have their effect and swing on the game, but it really makes you focus and stay within the game.
All right, now what are you thinking about this condensed season? Do you think it's anyone's season, it's anyone's game? You think anyone can win that World Series?
I think so. I think the way that things are laid out, it can turn on a dime. You can re-straighten your season out real quick, where, what is it, 60 games? It can change really fast, and I think that's a good thing. I think that keeps everybody in the hunt longer, and you can attack a different way.
It's a sprint, not a marathon, that's for sure. Well, Doug, thank you so much for joining me and catching up with Carly, presented by Meyer. Stay well and go Tigers.
Thank you so much. Go Tigers.
Another thank you to Doug for joining us. And of course, thank you to Carly. You guys, we're looking live at Chicago again, where the Tigers and the White Sox will wrap up this series today. First pitch is at 2:10. I just want to remind you guys before we move on that you can still use the hashtag word on Woodward throughout the show. Make sure you're using it. We'll try to get to your thoughts, comments, questions, whatever it is on the show later. Carly will be looking all over social media. So that's hashtag word on Woodward. Make sure you are using it right now. We're going to get into Bet You Didn't Know, presented by Motor City. Casino Hotel. And of course, Carley is going to join us for this one. As I mentioned, the Tigers and the White Sox will wrap up this series today starting at 2:10. And we know that Spencer Turnbull will be on the mound for the Tigers and Lucas Giolito will be on the mound for the White Sox. Art, what do we know about him?
Well, I'll tell you something. Lucas Giolito is kind of, and I got to throw big props out to our producer Mark Milligan, who must be a Robert Louis Stevenson fan because he called him Giolito like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and that's exactly how he's been. In 2018, he gave up the most runs in the American League, and then last year he was an all-star. I mean, so it's very, very odd. So heading into this year, what's going to happen? I mean, is he the 2019 Lucas Giolito, or is he the 2018? Well, so far in 2019, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. I mean, his ERA is a run higher. Opponents' batting averages are almost 40 points higher, but he has 32 Ks in 27 2/3 innings, but he also leads the Sox in walks. So the reason is that he is a changeup pitcher. The changeup is his bread and butter. You have hitters throughout the American League wake up at night in a cold sweat thinking about his changeup and how filthy, how nasty it is. But it's been inconsistent this year. Last season, people were hitting 190 against his changeup. And 40% of the time they were swinging and missing on the changeup. That would give anybody cold sweats if you're a hitter. Oh my Giolito, that changeup is just like freaking me out. But this season, people are hitting 333 versus his changeup, and he's throwing it more because that's his out pitch, but it's not being as effective. So I think today, even though the Tigers are, they haven't seen a pitch that they haven't liked when they get up to the plate, take a pitch, fellas. But with that said, I think they're going to try to work the count, and I think they're going to be sitting on that changeup. I think that's what they're going to be doing. I think that, as Giolito, and he's a great pitcher, don't get me wrong, and he's the ace of the staff, really, of the White Sox, or he was considered the ace of the staff, that, he's going to work it out. These pitches are going, how many pitchers have we talked to, over the years? They all say the same thing. They don't know when they hit the mound what pitch is going to be working, what their movement's going to be. They can feel good in the bullpen on a certain pitch, and then get out and the game starts, and then suddenly it abandons them. So Giolito, hopefully we get the Mr. Hyde on the mound today. That's the bad one, right? Dr. Jekyll, good. Dr. Jekyll, good. Mr. Hyde, bad. So, that's what I'm hoping for. But Giolito has been very, very, very inconsistent. Yeah, you're familiar with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Robert Louis Stevenson, great little novella, I guess it was. I don't know if it was a complete novel, but a great book. And Giolito must be a big fan of that because he has definitely been Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde this year, or the last couple of years, actually.
Well, Art, knowing that Giolito is playing a little bit worse than he did last season, struggling to get things going, which Detroit Tigers do you think will have big days today?
Well, I think there's going to be two of them. And I think that they're both switch hitters because they're going to be hitting from the left side because lefties are hitting them pretty well. I think it's going to be the Candyman, Jeimer Candelario, and Nico Goodrum. Both are hitting 330 against Giolito. So I would expect both of those fellas to make some contact today and get a few hits for the Motor City Kitties.
All right, Carley, what about you? Who's having a big day for the Motor City Kitties?
For the Motor City Kitties, I have to pick today's MVP of the game. Jonathan Scope, I think, is who I'm going with today. He's batting 500 with a home run against Giolito for his career and has been swinging a hot bat, if you will. In his last 8 games, he's batting a .344 with 2 home runs, both coming against the White Sox. So that's good news. And let's also not forget, though, that remember when Double D, he came on Tuesday on the show and talked about how Scope has really solidified the middle of the infield with Nico Goodrum. So I'm looking forward to watching Scope play. I got to talk to him before the season started and love the guy. Very, very animated, but I really like seeing him out on the field even more.
So Carly likes Jonathan Scope. Anybody else stand out to you when it comes to hitting, Carly?
Yeah, I mean, it's mixed good news for the Tigers and sheer coincidence, but no matter who is behind the plate today, they should match up well with both Grayson Greiner and Austin Romine. They have identical career stat lines of a 400 average and 2 RBI and 5 at-bats against GIOLITO. So I'm looking forward to watching them up at bat as well. So those are my 3 guys to watch out for today. So we got Scope, Greiner, and Romine. Those are my 3 headers that I have today. But Danielle, what are you looking forward to seeing? I know you're asking all the questions. So what about you?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Spencer Turnbull on the mound. We know that he has been the most dependable starter for the Tigers with a 2.78 ERA. And this is the biggest stat, 0 home runs. And if anybody has been watching any of this series with the White Sox, we know that the home runs have been absolutely killing them. That is really the only way the White Sox have been scoring during this series. So Spencer Turnbull, his 2 favorite pitches are his fastball and his sinker, which players are batting under 200 on, which is good. Plus, in one of my favorite name stats, his whiff percentage, otherwise known as the swing and miss rate, on his slider is 56%. That is great. So I'm expecting to see the slider thrown quite a bit today. And like I said, hopefully Spencer Turnbull can keep the ball in the park, because if the White Sox don't go deep, it's going to be a good day for the Tigers. With that said, Art, we've seen the lineup. We've talked about the starters a bit. Who do you think will be the X factor in today's game?
I'm telling you, I've been on this guy's bandwagon a lot. He confounds me at times because he looks like a great ball player. I think it's going to be Jeimer Candelario. Look at that, a 3-run homer last night. I mean, granted, maybe the outfielder kind of misjudged that ball and should have caught it, but hey, it all counts. That thing, by this time he cleared Quoquam Park or whatever the hell it's called over there in Chicago. I think Jeimer Candelario is going to be the X factor. He was 2 for 4 last night, 3-run dinger, as I said. And I just think that Jeimer Candelario is the guy. If he can solidify the leadoff spot and first base, because that's a lot. Remember, he's a third baseman, and if he can solidify that, 2 for 4 last night. He's hitting leadoff again. He has a .333 career batting average against GIOLITO, and the Tigers need production from the top of their lineup. The top of their lineup has been hurting it. Get this: the combined leadoff hitters this year for the Tigers are hitting 200 with 30 strikeouts. That's not good for a leadoff. You know why a guy hits leadoff? Because he gets on base. You want him on base. Right. And whether he gets some walks or he's fast and he can get infield hits, you want him on base. 230 Ks isn't going to cut it. Jeimer Candelario hits leadoff. I believe it was the first time last night. 2 for 4 plus a 3-run homer. I mean, he is outstanding. Listen to this. Jeimer's a streaky hitter. Since I had to write this down. Since August 1st, he is hitting .340 with 2 home runs. So this month, he's hitting .340 with 2 home runs. Jeimer Candelario, I hopefully he's coming into his own. We talk about Casey Mize and all that kind of stuff. And Casey, I just want to say this to you because I know he's tuned in all the time to the Word on Woodward. You belong, my friend. You think you belong here? Buddy, you're going to be driving the bus in a very short period of time. That's how much you belong. You're like front and center on this team. I mean, so come on. I belong here. I know you're humble and I know you're confident, but Casey, you definitely belong. And so does Jeimer Candelario. I think that, solidify that leadoff spot, play good first base. He's really good defensively. That's the guy that I'm thinking is today's X factor.
Candyman, bringing the sugar.
All right. I
love it.
I know.
There you go. Whoa, Carly. All right.
Carly. Wow.
Woo. You must have Oh my God! Well, let me write that down. Really?
I have that one geared up.
Carly, I'm writing this down. I'm going to write that down. The Candyman bringing the sugar. You know, I'm going to date stamp it and all that stuff.
How many cups of coffee have you had, and how much sugar have you put in the coffee today?
Well, I just drink it black. I just drink it straight. I used to be one of those people that, would put all kinds of cream and sugar when I started drinking coffee, at 4 or 5, whenever it was. But now I just drink it black. But I have had 2 cups. I've had 2 cups. It's very good. A little bit of a house blend. For one cup was house blend. The other one was Donut Shop, which is my own personal favorite. And but I feel good. I'm excited. You know why? Because of this. We've got Tiger baseball this afternoon, 2 hockey games tonight, playoff hockey, and then I'm being served with divorce papers tomorrow. It doesn't get any better than that. No, I'm just joking. I mean, let's just put it this way. No. I'm just joking. I've been watching a lot of sports on TV. I've been watching a lot of sports lately on TV. These hockey games, when you have 5 or 6 a day, it's like you're watching hockey again. But what the heck? I was just joking about that. I was just joking about tomorrow morning. At least I hope I am. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, you better hope. You better hope.
Oh my gosh. Anyway,
well, you guys, before it gets himself into anything deeper, we're going to wrap up. Bet You Didn't Know. A big thank you to Motor City Casino Hotel for presenting Bet You Didn't Know right here on the Word on Woodward. We're going to talk about some of that hockey with Dana Wakiji in just a minute here. But first, we're going to go to Carly, who has been all over the social media. It's been a big week for the Tigers. And what's been going on in Red Wings world, Carly?
Oh, yeah, it has been a big week for the Tigers, but this is something I found. I know we've all been talking about the Casey Mize and Tarek Skubal starts along with Isaac Paredes, but I saw something really funny on Instagram that really got my wheels turning. It's this illusion. It's a baseball illusion that I found on Instagram. So I'm going to go throw it up on my Instagram story and revisit later in the show so we can hear everyone's take later on. Let's socialize. But this is something I have to just show first. All right, we'll take a look at this. Is he batting left or right-handed? Honestly, I don't know. Don't know what my answer is yet, but this is one of those optical illusions, like, what is it? The black and blue dress or the whatever that was. It reminds me of one of those. But so I'm going to throw that up on my Instagram story. Isn't it weird? So go vote and let me know if you think he's batting right or left-handed. But moving on to the Red Wings, I had to share this video that Maurice Sider shared on his Instagram stories of him plopping out of a pool onto the concrete like a seal. I really don't even know what's going on here, but it made me laugh out loud. And it was cool to see Tim Stutzel right there in the pink bathing suit in the foreground. So not only we're hoping that Sider's making Stutzel laugh, but we also hope he's kind of putting a bug in his ear. Hey, maybe you should go to Detroit. Come play with me, Anyway, that's all I have for this mini Let's Socialize. So make sure you're sending your questions in and voting on my Instagram story about the left or right-handed at that. And I will get to those questions that you guys submit later in the show. So don't forget to send those in.
Thank you, Carly. The only thing I have to say to Mo Sider is please don't hurt yourself. That looked a little dangerous. We don't want you injured. I don't know if there was like a face plant or what was going on there, but it was funny, but be careful. You guys, we've still got a very busy show coming up. Dan Hubbs, the Director of Pitching Development and Strategy for the Tigers, will join us later. And Carlos Pena, MLB analyst and former Tiger, will join Art for the headliner. But right now, we are going to get into Downtown Hockey Town, presented by Labatt Blue Light. And today's guest is senior content producer for the Detroit Red Wings, Dana Wakiji. She's going to join us very soon. We're just waiting on her. She'll be right in. There she is. Hey, Dana. How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Good, good. The first thing I do want to talk to you about before we get into some of this playoff news is a Red Wings prospect, Swedish Red Wings prospect, Matthias Bromia, who will be playing in Sweden like some of the other prospects. We know that Philip Zadina as well as Marit Seider will start their seasons in Europe. What do you think of all of this, and specifically Bromia?
Well, it's a good idea. They have to keep playing if they can, and since Europe seems to be in a better situation where they're able to start playing games, and some places even have at least some fans. So I think it's a good thing, because the last thing you want to do as a young developing player is just sit around. So the best thing for any of them to do is play, and then as soon as something happens over here, then they'll be released to come over here and join us in camp whenever that's possible. So I think it's a great idea.
Dana, I know Bromia is he's a little bit older, unrestricted free agent that the Red Wings signed. Because he's 25, they could only sign him to a one-year deal. Hockey has, as you know, all these kind of rules and regulations. People keep asking me, why they only sign him to a one-year deal? Well, trust me, if he's playing well, they'll sign him. If he can make the team. I'm kind of curious about another prospect that you and I know and really, really do like, and that is a former third-round pick, Casper Kotzkonsalo, who played at Boston University. He's decided to go back to his native Finland and play this year, leaving college. I know you had a lengthy and a great story on the website, DetroitRedWings.com, about Casper. Is he still, because people are, they hear, oh, he's going back to Europe. Do you think he's still top of mind? Is he still a Red Wing prospect?
Oh, I definitely think he's still a Red Wings prospect. Now, if you're looking for him to be sort of like an offensive defenseman, that's not him. He's definitely a stay-at-home defenseman, but he's a big guy, so he could definitely play against any of the bigger forwards in the NHL right now. He just needs to develop and play. And the main reason that he told me that he wanted to go back to Finland and stay there and play this year was because, first of all, Hockey East said, okay, we intend to play hockey this year, but we're just not sure when. And we don't know how many games we're going to play. And I guess that uncertainty was kind of worrisome to him because it was supposed to be his final year at BU. So he said, look, I could just stay here in Finland. I can play 60-some games as opposed to 20-something games, which is way better for my development than just sort of being unsure and going back to BU. Although I will say he did tell me that he is only 5 credits shy of his degree, so he plans to graduate on time.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay,
I think Danielle has a question.
Hear me?
I can hear you.
I muted myself.
So well. There we go.
I've been doing with not that.
Dana.
Oh man,
we just thought Dana just said to me, I think this is the best question Daniella's ever asked me, and we couldn't hear it.
All right, well, let me get to that best question. We're actually just going to talk some NHL playoffs, Dana. 4 teams have advanced to the second round. Vegas over Chicago, Colorado over Arizona, Boston over Carolina, and Tampa over Columbus. I really don't think there's any surprises here, but we need to talk about Tampa over Columbus because it's a little bit of a revenge tour for Tampa after getting knocked out in the first round by Columbus last year.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I think another important factor is that in the absence of Steven Stamkos, Braden Point has really established himself as a playoff guy. Like, he's the hero. And just so fans know, Red Wings general manager Steve Yzerman, when he was with Tampa, picked up Braden Point in the 3rd round. So that's something that hopefully he can do again now that he's here in Detroit. But yeah, it definitely was a good revenge thing for Tampa beating Columbus after so much was expected out of Tampa last year, and Columbus knocked them out. So now it's unfortunate because then we don't get to see Gus Nyquist and Zach Werenski, who's from Grosse Points. But, we'll see what happens moving on.
Dana, another series that ended yesterday was Carolina, a team that I really like, but they lose, Andrei Svechnikov, who is, really kind of a glue guy for them. But then Boston, Tuukka Rask, who then had to announce, because I guess he was being shamed in Boston, that he had to leave the bubble because of a medical procedure for his daughter. He leaves because of that. well, I mean, Tuca, we hope everything is cool, and and maybe he comes back, and depending on how far the Bruins go. But boy, Carolina is a real up and coming team, but it's but we've seen the Bruins how many times, like zillions of times over the last few years. When Boston gets it going, they are a formidable team. After all, they did win the President's Trophy this year as the best team in the league.
Right, and I think they probably thought they got a little bit screwed in terms of the round robin format. They didn't, get their game going quite enough to be the number one seed, which they would have been had the season completed as it normally would have. So, but yeah, Boston's a great team, obviously. And we saw it all year. And getting Pasternak back yesterday, that certainly helps them a lot because he's fantastic. But Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, they've always been great. And Zdeno Chara at his age is still playing well and contributing, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Let's talk about Colorado too, you guys. Nathan MacKinnon leading the way for Colorado. Back-to-back 7-1 victories over Arizona in the playoffs. That just seems almost unheard of.
Yeah, it is. It's completely unheard of. But they have that kind of talent. And I think Arizona is an up-and-coming team, but they have not yet arrived. And they showed it yesterday. I mean, by the time it was 3-0, I was like, the announcers were saying, yeah, the Coyotes have already checked out of the bubble. And they really mentally had. So you could just see it on their faces right there. But and what another interesting thing is Nathan MacKinnon is fantastic. Landeskog is great. Rantanen's great. But, you look at what Nazem Kadri's been able to do for them after coming over from Toronto. I think it's, what does he have, like 5 or 6 goals already?
6.
Right.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Colorado, I mean, Arizona, the bottom dropped out of Arizona. I can't figure it out. I mean, they were playing very, very well. They were very competitive. And then, bam, once it started to go south, man, it really went south in a hurry for them. And so, and that whole franchise has been, I don't know if curse is the proper word, but let me just say it's always something with Arizona. Whether it's an arena, whether it's ownership, whether it's their general manager walking out just before the playoffs begin, there's always something going on with that club. The most stabilizing factor was Dave Tippett when he was their coach. He kind of went through it all, and now obviously he's in Edmonton. But let's talk Philly, Montreal. Montreal staves off elimination. I've always loved saying that. Staves off elimination. By winning 5-3 yesterday. Carter Hart, though, out-dueling Carey Price, who is his idol. So that's been a fascinating series to watch.
It is. It's a really good and competitive series. And, Carter Hart was doing things that no one expected him to do at age 22, back-to-back shutouts. But, Montreal's got some talent, and they're not quitting. They're like, hey, we weren't even supposed to be in this position, so let's just go for it. And maybe they're also playing for their coach who can't be there with them right now after having to have the procedure. So he, so maybe they're emotionally invested in that way as well.
Right. Claude Julien had heart surgery.
Yeah.
Of that series, which is exciting. I want to ask you both this because I know Art's probably excited that Vegas got through to the second round. And I'm going to look a little bit ahead, okay? So I'm sorry to the Avs fans or the Vegas fans that if you think I'm jinxing, but we talked about that yesterday, Art. We don't really believe in jinxes. So can you imagine if we have a Vegas and a Colorado Avalanche Western Conference final, which very well may be, that series would be great.
Yeah, I mean, even though I've picked Vegas to go all the way, and I'm going to stand by that. And I think for a fact, I maybe both of you actually pick Colorado in a previous show, but I will say this: that is going to be a heck of a series. It's almost going to take me back. Whoever wins that series between Vegas and Colorado, I think is going to win the Stanley Cup, much like when Colorado and Detroit, when the Red Wings would face off in the Western Conference Final, whoever won that series ended up winning the Cup. I think there was a run of like 4 or 5 years in a row. One of them, won the Cup, whoever beat whomever in the playoffs. So I think it's fascinating, but I do have to give a shout out to the Vancouver Canucks, who now are up 3-2 after beating the Blues. Tyler Mott, good University of Michigan kid. Good. I think, he's from Grosse Pointe or the area as well. And Quinn Hughes, two U of M guys leading the Canucks past the defending Stanley Cup champions. And the thing about that game was that, St. Louis was up 3-1, and then all of a sudden, Vancouver storms back and wins that game. And Tyler Mott got the first goal of the game, which was a shorty, and then he gets the game-winning goal. So Dana, in all honesty, I don't think we could have scripted these playoffs better than they have been. I mean, this has just been a wonderful experience, especially if you're a hockey fan, watching all this highly competitive playoff style hockey.
Oh, I think it's been great. I think it would be a little better if there were able to be fans there, because then you could have the atmosphere at least, but obviously the situation wherein you can't have that. It's also what happened with Vegas and Chicago the other night, a win-win for Wings fans, in that, number one, Chicago doesn't advance, and number two, they weren't eligible to get the number one pick. So I had people that I know who were convinced that Chicago was somehow going to get the number one overall pick and get Lafreniere. But anyway, you were right. I did pick Colorado to win it all. So if it does happen, maybe we'll have to make a little wager on the Western Conference Final if it is Colorado versus Vegas.
I'll tell you what, if that happens and Colorado wins, Dana, then I'll have to write at least one or two by the numbers for you. All right. I promise I'll do that. Since I haven't had a byline in like years, it seems like.
Dana, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. It's been great chatting with you. We'll definitely have you back to talk as these playoffs continue. And you guys, of course, a big thank you to Labatt Blue Light for presenting Downtown Hockey Town. Labatt Blue Light, refreshing Canadian Pilsner. Visit your local retailer when safe to pick up some Labatt Blue Light. It's been an exciting show so far, you guys, and we've still got quite a bit coming up for you later in the show. Art will be joined by Carlos Pena for the headliner, and of course, Carly will come back for Let's Socialize. So one more reminder, guys, if you have thoughts, questions, comments, use the hashtag #WordOnWoodward. She will find them, and we will try to get to them in Let's Socialize. Right now, we've got a very special interview for Brush Street Beat. It's time for Brush Street Beat, presented by McLaren Healthcare. Today's guest is Director of Pitching Development and Strategy for the Detroit Tigers, Dan Hubbs. Dan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thanks for having me on.
We're excited. It's an interesting position that you have, the first for the Tigers. So to start this off, tell us what exactly your job is and what it entails.
Well, it's a little bit of a work in progress, but basically, the biggest part of the job is helping the pitching coaches with the data and analytics and the technology, and then being able to articulate that to the players as well. Being a go-between between the data analysts, players, the data analysts, the coaches, and more than anything, just letting everybody be on the same page about what the numbers mean and how we can use them to better help the players understand who they are as pitchers and what they need to do to be successful.
Going back to your days at USC, you actually had to be at the forefront of this type of technology in order to offer kids something that maybe they wouldn't get at the major league level if they would have signed a contract out of high school. Is that a fair assessment that you've been playing this game, Dan, for quite a while right now?
We have, and when I was at USC, I think it was probably 2013, maybe 2014 when we invested in TrackMan. Some other of the Power 5 schools had it, and they had just started getting into it, and I felt like we needed it if we wanted to be competitive, just to give us an opportunity to better help our athletes understand what they can and can't do well. We're in the day and age where everybody wants to know why, as opposed to when I was playing coming up, it was just because the coach told you to. And so when you have the data to show them about why this is beneficial for you, then I think they're more apt to make some changes. They're more apt to believe what your eyes are telling you. And it just gives you more ammo when you go to a player and say, hey, let's go this direction, when they may feel the other way or they've done something for a long period of time.
Dan, you're working in Toledo right now with the Tigers pitching prospects, and obviously it's a bit of a different year from what you would normally see in Major League Baseball. But when you're working in Toledo with these guys, obviously they're playing or pitching against the same few batters every day. Does that kind of hinder the work that you do, or what kind of adjustments have you had to make because of that?
Well, I mean, the only hindrance is, you're trying to create a competitive environment, and it's tough when it's an inter squad versus when you're playing someone in a different uniform. It's just, that's the nature of the beast, and we're doing the best we can with creating different scenarios, putting guys on base to start innings. I don't think it hinders the development of the pitcher in that, when you're in your own division, you're playing the same teams over and over and over and over. And especially now when, you look at the Central, they're only playing 9 different teams the whole year. So you're going to face the same hitters a ton, and they're going to get to know the pitchers intimately. And so you have to know what they do well, what they don't do well, how your pitches play off each other. You have to be able to pitch a bunch of different ways, meaning that you have to pitch backwards, be able to throw your off speed early and fastball late. You have to be able to attack with the fastball early, move the fastball around. And in order to do that and be successful, you have to know how your pitches play off of each other, where your strengths are, the movement profiles of your pitches, so that what you want to do, you're capable of doing against a hitter's weakness.
Tarek Skubal made his debut against the White Sox. We're doing this on Wednesday. Casey A. Mize is about to make his debut, and when this airs, obviously he would have already pitched. Talking to both of those young men, they seem very in tune with the situation, and they seem to have confidence. How easy is it when you have an eager pupil, shall I say, somebody that wants to absorb everything you have to tell them?
Well, I think, half the battle is getting them to want the information, and then can they understand the information? And I think a big part of the coaching piece of the job is, who can you give the information to? How much of the information can you give to them and not hurt their development? Because sometimes guys will try and chase a number as opposed to compete to the glove. So meaning that they'll look at the data and say, well, that was a really good pitch. And, on the coaching side of it, okay, the movement was good, but to a bad location is still a bad pitch. And getting them to understand the difference. And then there's some guys who are younger that you won't even want to give them any of the information because their delivery is such that they can't repeat anything anyway. We have to get to that point first before we give them the information on the pitch profile. But when you look at those two kids, Casey came up using the data and technology at Auburn in all his offseason training, and so he's pretty in tune to the numbers. Tarek is really starting to understand the numbers more and more as we go along, but he really wants to know just maybe a little piece of it, whether it's a spin efficiency or whatever when we're in the bullpen, and he doesn't want a ton of the information, he just wants enough. And so you're just trying to figure out, what do they want, what do they need, what can they use to really enhance what they do and not take away just their ability to compete when they get on the mound.
So you've been
Did that answer the question, or?
What do you think, Art? Was it good?
You know what? Yes, he answered it so well that I think that I'm going to revive because I'm left-handed. I think I'm going to start throwing the baseball again and see what this very old body can do. Maybe I can make the Cape Cod League. Who knows?
That's all right. You never know. You might be an outlier in that you're below hitting speed and it's just tough to hit.
Really?
Hey, that's
I'm like a modern day Hoyt Wilhelm or something,
There you go.
Till he was like 100, so who knows?
Right, there you go.
Dan, talking about Tarek Skubal and Casey Mize, as we said, Tarek made his debut last night. I want to ask you as a coach, what did you think of the few innings that he did pitch? What did you think of his overall performance? And did you see things that you're going to go talk to him about that you think he needs to work on?
Well, I think, you take with a grain of salt. I mean, you look at his stuff, it's electric. I mean, he has a big fastball, he has a really good curveball, he has a really good slider, he has a very good change. It's about consistency at that level. and making pitches. And, he faced a team that is absolutely on fire at the plate. It's a tough lineup to face, obviously. And he made a lot of really good pitches. Now, he made some mistakes and he got hurt by them, but that's something that he'll learn from. I think the biggest thing you noticed when he's out there is it doesn't seem like anything really phases him. And I think if he was striking out, 6 guys in 2 innings, or if he gave up 7 hits and 4 runs, you see the same demeanor pitch after pitch after pitch, and he just kept grinding it out. Obviously, and I think Gardy had said it after the game, and I think Rick had talked to him about it, just being a little bit more conscious of being to the arm side rather than specifically to the glove side. He was pretty amped up, I think, and rightly so. Your first time out there, and so you could see him pulling stuff to the glove side against all those right-handed hitters, and they have everything kind of coming into him, and there wasn't much going away from him. And so, that was one thing he was doing very well down here, was being able to throw that changeup when he needed to, and throw a backdoor curveball, and then power the fastball in, and then be able to throw the fastball away. And it got away from him a little bit yesterday, but I would expect against, I guess it's Cleveland on Sunday, I think I read, was when he's starting again. I think, he's going to learn from each of these outings. And I was pleased with the stuff that I saw, and now it's just about refinement.
When you look at it that way, it sounds like, Dan, what you're saying is that Casey wants as much information as you're willing to give him, whereas Tarek wants just enough information, but not too much. Does that come with some guys don't want to be thinking all the time and just playing? I mean, is it a delicate balance that you have of giving them too much too soon, or do you want to just bombard them with information and it's up to them to process it?
No, I think the last thing I want to do is bombard them with information that's going to, the term paralysis by analysis. I don't want that to happen. I want their athleticism to take over. And when you watch Tarek pitch on the mound, I mean, he's very athletic when he's on the mound. And I don't want to take that away from him because he's trying to think about a lot of different things. I want him to attack with his stuff. And what he's looking for is, let's say, spin efficiency. So he's trying to figure out, hey, am I behind the ball and getting the rise to the fastball that I want? Do I have really good efficiency on my curveball so it breaks more to the ground? And is my spin efficiency low on my slider so it breaks more? I mean, there's different things that we talk about, but he'll look at that and he'll just glance over and say, how was that? And I'll tell him where he's at. Good, done. Casey will want to know spin direction. So how is the ball coming off his fingers? Because he has in his mind what he wants it to be. And sometimes we have to back away from that, where he can get too much into that and not enough at times just go get the glove. And he's discovered the balance that he needs, which I think is excellent. And so where we use it with Casey is more, if something isn't going as well and we go in with the Rapsodo machine, we can say, this is where you normally are when it's good. And then when he throws it, see, you're right in your range. Perfect. That's where we want to be. And then we talk about it that way. And I think that's helped him, once we've been in Toledo.
Dan, it's been very interesting to hear your perspective. Thank you so much for taking a few minutes to join us today. We really appreciate it, and we hope to talk to you as the season progresses. And of course, a big thank you to McLaren Healthcare for presenting Brush Street Beat right here on the Word on Woodward. Another thank you to Dan for joining us. Very interesting to hear his perspective. You've got a live look in from Chicago one more time. You guys, the Tigers will be live at 2:10. First pitch is scheduled. And of course, Fox Sports Detroit will have all of your pregame coverage starting at 1 right after the Word on Woodward. And we actually have another special edition Brush Street Beat interview for you guys. Art and I interviewed Cleveland play-by-play announcer Tom Hamilton. He's a great guy. Had a lot of really cool things to say. Art, what was your favorite part of talking to Tom?
Well, actually a couple of things. He said really nice things about the Detroit-Cleveland rivalry. I'm like Tom, would wish that maybe both teams were at elite level at the same time. It doesn't seem to coincide that way. And he had some interesting things to say about what they're going through with COVID-19. But the thing that I really did take away from it is that we joked around about the 20-game losing streak, in his case, winning streak that the Indians have over the Tigers, and he said it came down to starting pitching. And I thought that was really a great comment, very, very insightful. And, now that we have Skubal and Mize making their debut, maybe that is going to start turning around a little bit with starting pitching. The Tigers are going to have some formidable arms themselves, and they already have a couple right now in the starting rotation. I'm not taking anything away from anybody, but I would tune into it. What a wonderful guy, a lot of fun. He's been doing it a long time. He's a Hall of Fame broadcaster in my book. I encourage everybody to tune into it. Tom Hamilton was very, very good, and we really enjoyed talking to him.
We did, and you guys can catch that interview on the Word on Woodward YouTube channel. Again, Tom Hamilton, the play-by-play for the Cleveland Indians. The Tigers begin the weekend series with Cleveland tomorrow. And another interesting thing that Tom said is that we're probably going to see somebody make their MLB debut, a pitcher for Cleveland on Saturday. So this could be the Tigers' chance to snap that 20-game losing streak to the Indians. Right now, you guys, we're going to get into our headliner where Art was with Carlos Pena.
Thank you, Daniela. It is time for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. Our guest is former Tiger and current MLB Network analyst Carlos Pena. Carlos works for the MLB Network, and you can watch him across MLB Network's programming, including MLB Tonight, which airs 7 days a week. Now that we got that out of the way, let's officially welcome Carlos. And Carlos, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
It's really cool to join you guys. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to join you, as a matter of fact.
Now you're an analyst with MLB. The Tigers are going through a little bit of a rebuild. Unfortunately, you were on the team that lost 119 games. So you kind of know what Tiger fans are feeling. Your, I guess, general overview of where do you think the Tigers are at right now as a baseball team?
Well, they're in that first level, right, where you have to kind of the growing pains. It's difficult. It's a lot of development going on. And sometimes you're going to lose your patience as a fan. And not only as a fan, but also as a player. It's hard to take the losses. But you have to have the big picture in mind. And now that doesn't mean that you don't go out there every single day expecting to win a ball game. However, fans' perspective, it's almost like you have to give the team enough room and these guys to just grow and come into their own. And sometimes that's easier said than done, and it requires a lot of patience, which maybe that's something that the Detroit fans do not want to hear. But there are a lot of great bright spots to look forward to. I mean, this team's stacked with talent.
Well, I know you talked about stacked with talent. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but what's it like when you are in a rebuilding mode and you guys are losing more than you're winning? I know, I believe Alan Trammell was your manager for most of your career here in Detroit. I mean, is it a toll on him? Were there ever points where, because Tram's a Hall of Fame ball player, where you just wanted to say, "Hey, Tram, just calm down a little bit yourself"? I mean, we'll eventually get this right.
Remember I told you about patience? Well, Tram had a lot of it, and it was tested. And he really went out every single day, early work, trying to work with every single player, kind of turning his back on the fact that the team had so many losses stacking up one after the other. And he was still with resilience. His resilience was just ridiculous because he would show up every day in the morning, early to work with the guys. And he would pretty much make appointments with every one of us, depending on the position, and work with us throughout the week, extra work. And it takes a lot of dedication because you're not getting the reward. You're not getting the W's. You're not getting the pat on the back. So hats off to Tram. He was one of my favorite managers. And today I value him more than possibly when we were actually playing for him. I can see how valuable he was in my career as a defender, as a hitter. So that was very necessary for me as a player. So that's why I told you earlier that not only the fans need to be patient, but also the players, they have to stick with the process, be process oriented. And that's going to serve them well in the long run.
When you look at the at Major League Baseball, you look at the Tigers specifically, Tigers started off pretty well, kind of stumbling right now against the White Sox and the Cleveland Indians. But Tarek Skubal made his debut. Casey Mize is making his debut against the White Sox. Pretty formidable club to make your Major League debut. But When you look at the young talent that they have, especially a Mize and a Skubal, I mean, as you said, why? What about pitching? Why is pitching so important? I know that's like a loaded question, but
Yeah.
if the Tigers can get their pitching right, suddenly this rebuild has been, accelerated quite a bit.
Well, that's precisely why I think Al Avila is doing everything he can to get innings and experience with these, get him out there, get a little taste of the big leagues under these circumstances right now that are very formidable, or strange, let's say, different, right? And it's not a 162 game season. The Tigers were off to a pretty good start, but now kind of like they came back to earth, and all of a sudden you have a little bit of room to say, okay, if we're going to test these guys, we're going to put them out there and just give them kind of like get him some seasoning. This is the perfect opportunity to do so. And that's what, when you look at Skubal and you look at Mize, this is precisely what they're up here to do. And boy, are they talented. They can really throw the baseball, but you have to give them the reps. You have to let them struggle. You have to let them adjust. And sometimes that's not pretty to watch, but you must trust that process because it's part of their growth.
What about pitching? Let's bring up Matt Boyd, the ace of the staff. He was lights out in spring training, in summer camp. He was lights out. The season starts, and all of a sudden, it looks like the bottom has dropped out. To me, I guess, and this as a player, and this is just for me covering players for so many. It's almost like he's thinking too much and just not going out there and playing, if that makes sense. I mean, what have you seen? And I know it's limited because you cover the whole league. What do you think's going on with Matt Boyd?
Well, I want to include Boyd in this conversation, but it would go for Mize, it would go for Skubal. I just think that they have. It's not about thinking too much. I would say they're thinking about the wrong thing, because you focus so much on trying to better your stuff, and in reality, I think you will expedite your progress and your growth if you focus on how to utilize your stuff instead of trying to make your stuff spin more or throw harder. How about focusing on the fact that it's not about better stuff, but using your stuff better? I utilize that phrase very often because I think it just rings true. I mean, I'm a hitter, and who better to tell you how to go about defeating a pitcher than a hitter? And what hurts me, right, as a hitter? So I think those are very valuable conversations where you have a pitcher talk to a hitter. So I'm coming from a hitter's perspective. Are you hiding your off-speed pitches? Are you making your off-speed pitches seem and look like the fastball? Are you speeding me up? And then you utilize that sense of me not having enough time to your advantage. Those are the type of conversations that I hope young pitchers are having. I certainly hope that the Tigers' young pitchers are having. Instead of worrying so much, is my curveball breaking hard enough? Do not rely on stuff so much. Start more relying on strategy and building a pretty good strategy. So that's what I think happens. You go lights out in spring training, and then all of a sudden you can't get the people you want. It's not that you forgot how to throw your curveball or your fastball. It's that maybe you're not utilizing it the right way. So I wish they would focus on strategy more than on stuff.
Wow, that's a really interesting point. Let's kind of turn our conversation now to a hitter. You were a young premier up-and-coming hitter back in the day. Tigers have, several players that they're really interested in. Isaac Paredes is already up right now. I know people are chomping at the bit to see Riley Green, whom I believe is a superstar in the making. And then Spencer Torkelson, my big thing, Carlos, is unleash the torque. I mean, fans are eager to see them. But what would you tell young hitters, especially young everyday players, about the process that they need to go through before they begin wearing that Old English D?
Well, right away. I mean, we're talking about the pitchers making have the strategy on point. Same thing goes for the hitters. So we look at Torkelson, Green, Paredes. These guys have incredible hand and eye coordination. The power is there, especially when we're talking about Torkelson. He's got ridiculous power. So now what? Sometimes as hitters, if I had to go back in my career, I think I worked and worried too much about my mechanics. Way too much. I spent so many hours in the cage. And when the game started, as soon as I made the first out, I would switch my mechanics. after I worked all day on the one that didn't work on my first at bat. You understand? It's a waste of time to spend so much time on mechanics. So by the same token, I would like young hitters, I would say, let's focus on an approach. Let's look for a pitch that you can be all over. Let's time it correctly. Let's get ready early enough for that fastball, for example, in the middle in part of the plate. Let's, instead of being so reactionary, let's be in the attack, right? Become predators, become hunters as hitters. Instead of trying to cover the entire plate, let's be very discriminating for the pitch that we really want to hit. Those are the conversations I would be having with the young hitters. Instead of like, is your elbow up? Let's make sure your swing is, flat, or squish the bug. They don't use that anymore in the big leagues, but it used to be one of those things they used to say, right, when we were younger, squish the bug. Let's talk about strategy and approach more than mechanics.
Well, I'm right there with you. And I guess finally, my final question for you would be this. You're a ball player. You played in front of fans. How difficult would it have been for Carlos Pena, the player, to play under the conditions that Major League Baseball players are playing right now, where they're pretty much quarantined in their room, and then they go to the ballpark. They can sort of maybe touch their teammates if they want to fist bump them or high five them with an elbow or something, and then play in essentially an empty stadium?
It would be extremely difficult. I mean, keep in mind that when we were younger and we aspired to become Major League Baseball players, one of the things that attracted us, right, especially, I'll speak for myself, but I know that a lot of people are on board with this. A lot of players are. We dreamt about playing in front of 50,000 fans in beautiful stadiums, packed houses. Imagine a player getting to your stadium, you see no one in the stands. That is difficult. That is difficult to adjust to. And then add the really draconian measures that Major League Baseball has set in place because of the situation. You know what I mean? So they're justified. They're trying to do everything they can to make sure everyone is safe. Think about having to go through all these protocols and rules and make sure that you keep them. That's also extremely difficult. Let alone, we haven't even played a game yet. We haven't. This is before we say play ball. So I think playing the game is probably the easiest part, but getting over those big parts, right, of no one in the stands and all the protocols, goodness, that is the biggest adjustments that players have had to make. I know I would have had a hard time, even though, players are resilient. And as you can see, we're on the way, and, they're out there having fun and doing what they love.
How long do you think it's going to take for this team? I mean, let's face it, Carlos, their minor league system, which was always in the low 20s, is now rated in the top 5 or 6, or even heck, MLB Pipeline has them as the best farm system. How long do you think it's going to take before the Tigers are where we all want them to be, competitive again?
Well, it's hard to say specifically, but if I were to follow the pattern on how players develop, we're talking about 3 years, 3 years where you could see these guys really come and start becoming comfortable in the major league level and performing at the level that they're capable of performing. And we're talking about as a group, right? And that's why I give it the 3 year, at least 3 years for them to pretty much come together and everyone become what we know and what we expect that they can become in the big leagues. Is that a long time? No, I don't think it is. I think it'd be fun watching these guys develop the process. And if we get surprised early, no one's going to complain. But get your mindset that it's going to be at least 3 years before you see these guys truly become the team that everyone expects them to become eventually.
Well, I want to go an overview right now. Obviously, COVID-19 has changed everything. Baseball without fans, and I'm just kind of curious, how has this changed what you do right now? Have you adjusted? I mean, how different is this environment for you?
Well, this is so strange. These times we're living in are just out of this world, really. And eventually, what you end up doing is you try to have this mindset of prudence, right? And you say, okay, I'm going to be cautious and not fearful. And you pretty much take that approach with everything you do. It's been difficult to adjust, even just physical activity. After I retired, I'm still a workout buff. I like fitness, Well, it's not that easy now to go to the gym, for example. But guess what? You can grab a bike, go biking. You can go running. So you find ways to adjust. But the toughest part has been doing this from home. I want to be in the studio.
Right.
I want to be, breaking swings down and looking at games at the MLB Network. Yet we're doing it from home. Hopefully soon, the next couple of weeks, I'll be able to get down to the studio. But it has been difficult. Let me tell you something personal. How about just school with the kids? Oh my goodness, that's extremely difficult. They just started last week, so we're busy parents, especially in the morning, trying to navigate virtual learning. But it also has helped us to be closer to our children. So we're trying to stay positive, and we do everything we can to be cautious but not fearful, and keep on going forward. Hopefully soon, all this will be over.
Right, I'll tell you, draconian. I can tell you studied electrical engineering at Northeastern. My gosh, I mean, you're throwing words out there that whoa, all right, back off, Carlos. I know you're teaching your kids here, but all right, we're just talking baseball, buddy.
I just learned that word with my 10-year-old there in social studies. How about that?
Oh, really?
I used it right away. Apply the vocabulary.
Use it in a sentence, please. That was great. Yes. That was great.
Yes.
All right, that'll do it for the headliner presented by Miller Lite. Miller Lite, it is the original light beer, only 96 calories. It tastes delicious, and it is available for delivery. Carlos Pena, what a great guy. Back to you, Daniela.
Thank you, Art. That was a great interview. Carlos Pena is a great guy. We're taking a look at a live look-in from Chicago. Guaranteed Rate Field, Art. I know you were forgetting that name earlier in the show. It's Guaranteed Rate Field in Chicago. The Tigers, they'll be taking the field in just a little over an hour now, you guys. We're going to get into Let's Socialize to wrap things up right here on the Word on Woodward, presented by AAA. And, of course, bringing Carly for this one. Carly, what do you have for us today?
All right. So what I have first is a question for Art. Is this the last we've seen of Taylor Hall in an Arizona jersey? If so, where will he sign? Art, this is going to be a good one for you.
Well, I'll tell you what, I thought there for a while that he would stick, that he would probably stick in Arizona. I mean, they're an up-and-coming club. They have some really good young talent. I think their goaltending is pretty good. I know Kemper had some stubbed his toe here, but they kind of pulled the chute the last couple of games against Colorado. But I think at this point, where Taylor Hall is at, we're talking about a former MVP of the league. He was is in New Jersey. Some of the franchises he's played for. Edmonton, New Jersey, and now Arizona. He's a premier player. I think he's probably going to shop his services around. And where is he going to end up? I think he's going to end up on a contending team. I think a team that has a really good, they can fit him in the cap, and somebody that can, can sign him. I really like what Chicago's doing. Kirby Dach, who, the Blackhawks went up. They got, first of all, I know the Red Wings coveted Kirby Dach. Watching him play, now I know why. I get it. That kid's a really good player. But, maybe he goes to a young team like that. But then again, does he want to do there? Maybe he goes to a veteran team that's ready to go. I'll tell you a team that I would like to see him go to, actually, would be Carolina. And I don't know what their cap situation is, but they've got a lot of good young talent. But you bring in somebody, a proven scorer and a perennial elite player year in and year out like Taylor Hall, that could, and I like what Rob Brindamore said, the head coach, former Michigan Stater. I know you two guys like him, of Carolina Hurricanes. He said that, I'm proud of this team. We've come a long way. Well, if they can add a Taylor Hall or somebody of that ilk, that's where I would go. Again, to go full circle here on this question, I really think that Arizona had a shot, and I don't think it comes down to money for him. You reach a certain age as a player, and if you can reach that certain age as a player, chances are you've made a pretty healthy buck. So then you start looking at your options, because that, Father Time is catching up with all of us. So you're thinking, God, I want to win. I want to win a Stanley Cup. I want to be a champion. I want to hoist the silver grail or whatever over my head. And so I think when you start looking at it that way, then that's when you start, money, believe it or not, out there, money is not the major issue because he's going to get compensated. He's going to get a lot of money no matter what he looks. Then you start looking at teams and best chances to win. If I were Taylor Hall, I would look at, heck, I'd look at Vancouver too. I'd look at any good young up and coming team that could use a proven scorer. That's where I would go first. I thought Arizona was one of those teams, but I'm pretty sure these last two games that they played where they were outscored 14-2, that might, he might have some second thoughts unless Phil Kessel can talk him into staying or something. But I think it's so long, Coyotes. It was fun. And let's see what, the Yellow Brick Road has in store for me, or in his case, the Greenbacks Road, because he's going to get a lot of money. But I think he's going to go to a team that has a real legitimate shot at winning the Cup.
Only time will tell. I appreciated that answer, Art. That was a good one. All right. Second social question is for Daniella. Who is your Tiger this week and why? I know we talked about who we're excited to watch in the game tonight, but what about this whole week? Who would be your Tiger and why?
That's an easy one. If I'm just looking at this week, it's definitely Casey Mize, just because all of the excitement leading up to his MLB debut and him having a pretty good MLB debut. Like I said, it's just really exciting to see these prospects getting called up. I have to give Tarek Skubal credit too, because it's hard to make your MLB debut, and he did a pretty good job as well. Only had a few innings there. He was on a pitch count. Casey Mize, like I said, my number one. Just exciting to have him up here. It's the future of the Tigers. We've been waiting for this moment for years now. So I really, really would pick Casey Mize. But if I had to pick for the whole season so far, I think I would go with Austin Rehmann. We talked about him earlier and how consistent he's been and how the Tigers might even sign him to a few more years after this one-year deal is up. But he's just been really, really that leadership, that veteran presence that they needed. And he's done really good things. And I think that was one of the best signings that the Tigers picked up in the offseason.
Love it. I like that answer. I can't forget about Paredes either.
Yeah, we like Paredes.
Another good debut. Don't. Love it. All right, moving on to social number 3. This is for both of you, really. It's more of a comment than it is a question, but of course it made me laugh, and you will see why. Art, this is from Robert Cox. Regner, you can go on the road as a comedian. Just make sure to bring those 2 lovely ladies along as your audience. You could read them the phone book and they'd laugh. This is true. Anything that comes out of Art's mouth, unless it's like a serious or a little heavier comment, I laugh. Everything Art says, Art, your sense of humor is one of a kind, and I will laugh at anything you say.
Well, I mean, literally, I appreciate that, but I think we all know you're both a captive audience, and when I mean captive, I mean captive. You can't go anywhere, so you might as well enjoy yourself during the course of the show. So, I want to say something. I want to say something real quick. I love Doug Fister. I thought you did a wonderful job with him, and I used to call him the Fist. And I was on the radio, and back then somebody made this up for me, and I have to show you this picture. And I should have sent it to you, Carly. But this was a fan. Whoops, nope, not this one. Oh man.
Oh no, what were you show us?
I don't know if you can see it. What? Wait. There it is. Oh, wait. Go this way. Go this way. Yeah. Go this way.
Yeah.
There it is.
There you go.
Because I used to call him the Fist, and there's the Joe Louis Arena Fist. Why is this floating? I'm not even moving. Doggone it. There you go. Anyway, you get the gist. Someone made me that picture, and I used to every time he would start, I would always post it. I would always post it on Twitter and Facebook, and all I would do is capture it as the Fist, and then you have obviously the Joe Louis the Fist, which obviously the great Joe Louis, heavyweight champion, best heavyweight champion maybe of all time, him and Muhammad Ali, and with the Fist. And Muhammad Ali, who lived in Michigan for a number of years. I don't know if people knew that. I mean, Muhammad Ali lived in Michigan for a long, long time. But the Joe Louis Fist and then the Fist in front of it. I can't remember which fan made it up for me. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. But that was a great interview. Doug Fister. And let's face it, he was a power pitcher. He, along with Tyler Alexander, holds the record for most consecutive strikeouts at 9. So good job there, though. But I love that picture. The Fist. It was great seeing him too.
I just like as hard as I just laughed, and I started to get teared up a little bit. Because I laugh when I laugh really hard, I snort and I tear up. But Art, literally, just like you trying to show that like, you are the funniest guy. You have your number one fans right here on this show. You don't have to look too far.
But but I was holding it stationary. I wasn't even moving my hand, and it was moving around. I don't get that. I don't know what the heck was happening there. I really wanted people to appreciate that photo, but especially since we had the fist on, I'm a little bummed.
Post it to your Twitter.
Oh, okay. I'll post
it.
I'll post it again. All right.
Speaking of posts and speaking of getting both of your comments, let's check back on the optical illusion poll that I talked about earlier. I posted it on my Instagram story, and let's see. Okay, so the answer was left. That's what I thought too, just based on the feet. But what did you guys think? Art and Daniela, did you guys think that he was batting left or right-handed? He or she. Could have been both.
Okay, I don't see how you would get right. And maybe it's one of those like mind games where some people see and some people see right, but I see left. I don't know where you would have got right out of that.
I can see both, but the feet gave it away for me.
Right. That's exactly what I'm going to say. I mean, you can tell where the front leg is at, is that, that he is, he's getting ready to swing at a pitch, and where the position of the hands is. I think it's definitely a left-handed hitter. The way the bill is kind of tilted as well. I can see where people might think right, because that's when the optical illusion starts playing games with you. But if you see both sides and then you think it over, then you really study the picture. He's definitely batting left-handed. No question. No question. Right. It's a lefty.
I have to ask you too. Did you like sink
for me?
Your head? Did you sink down in your chair today? You're like this.
I don't know. This chair rocks, and I like to rock, and so I'm constantly moving around. Yeah, I rock too. Yeah, definitely, I rock. I'm sure I probably have some sort of something. I know I'm ADHD and all those letters combined. I know I have that thing going for me, but. I just can't sit still. And I get invigorated doing this show. I think you know that. I mean, I'm just so into it. I mean, I just have so much fun, and really, working with you, Daniela, and you, Carly, it doesn't really get any better. I always have said this, and I've been in the media or whatever for a long, long time. It beats working for a living. It beats working for a living. I mean, this is. We're talking Red Wings and Tigers and sports. I mean, it doesn't get, if you grew up in Detroit, it doesn't get better than that, right?
It doesn't. We're very blessed to have each other and to have this stream and to have our jobs.
Especially in these uncertain days, to quote Carlos Pena, in these draconian times, yes, it's we're in pretty good shape. We don't have much to complain about.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna submit in an order of those fat heads. Art, I'll get you your. How many cats do you have?
I have 3 right now, and they're all in good health, thank heaven. So yes, 3 of them.
All
Emilio,
right, so the 3
Buddy,
cats,
and Reba.
Oh, cute. All right. I'll get one for Mia, and then I'll get one for someone I'll pick. Daniela, you get Rocco, and who else? I'm going to submit the payments. I might have to. Pete, can I get reimbursed?
Does it have to, am I getting a tiger?
Yeah.
Am I getting a tiger?
Hey, if Pete's ever going to sign any kind of expense check, it's this week, because it's his birthday week. His birthday week. It's Pete's birthday week. So, he's feeling good. So get the expense reports in. Pete will sign everything away. Yeah, fat heads for the cats? Why not? Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Show them on the air. We can probably get a bit out of that.
All right, so what else do you need besides the fat heads? Let's do this now.
Yeah, right.
And a raise, Pete. I definitely need a new cat castle, but this Pete. Raises across the board. Let's do it. Happy birthday to me.
Get him for his birthday. He just messaged just send in the expense forms.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
There you go. I mean, hey, he's a happy guy. Yeah, I'm looking forward to our martini night at the DAC. I can't tell you, I'm really looking forward to it. So, Pete Scorch, great. No, in all seriousness, happy birthday,
Wait,
Pete.
are we invited to that? Are Carly and I invited to that?
You're talking about something we're not invited to in front of us?
Wait. Day one, it's just going to be Pete and me. There's going to be some heavy drinking going on. I don't want you on my end. Pete's probably a little bit of a teetotaler at times. But if I'm out in public finally, and I'm able to have a drink, call me a Uber or the other service, Lyft. Because I'm definitely not driving home that night.
I'll come pick you up, Art. Don't worry about it. I'll do it.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. That'll be well. Then you know what? The last hour of when Pete and I decide that we're going to leave, you two can show up the last hour just so you can drive us. That'll be great, and you can have a drink, just one.
Okay. Glad. Thank you so much, Art.
I know. I'm a very giving. I'm a big person, as you can tell. I keep your best interest top of mind all the time.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward, Art, to your post-show texts. Always giving me a nice compliment. Those are the best I've ever received. But I'm looking forward to that. Danielle, I'm going to toss it back to you so you can wrap this thing up.
Thank you, Carly. It's been fun. That I always love this ending segment, even though I'm sorry for that last couple of minutes. Some of you probably didn't get all of our jokes, but that's okay. It was great to have you. Thank you, Carly. And a big thank you to AAA. We say AAA says thank you. With free roadside assistance for first responders and healthcare workers fighting to defeat COVID-19. You protect us by going to work every day. Let AAA protect you on the way there and back. And you guys, that brings us to the end of today's Word on Woodward presented by Rehmann. If you missed anything today or you have missed anything on any Word on Woodward episode, you can go to the Word on Woodward YouTube channel or listen to the show as a podcast on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify. Again, that's the Word on Woodward YouTube channel or any podcast on wherever you listen to your podcast. Coming up in just a couple of minutes, you guys, the Fox Sports pregame show for the Tigers game tonight or today that starts at 2:10. There's a live look at Chicago. Again, first pitch is 2:10. Tune in to 97.1 The Ticket. And of course, watch Fox's pregame show, which starts at 1 o'clock in just a few minutes. Thank you guys for joining today, and make sure you tune in to the Word on Woodward, coming to you live from Comerica Park on Tuesday at 4 p.m.